What's going on, everyone? This is going to be the first foray for something. If anybody that knows me, first of all, I'm Brandan Craft. I am a professor by trade, entrepreneur by choice, and I do a lot of other things. I'm a jack of all trades. But this idea, office hour tangents, OHTangents, this is my first foray into this idea I had. So instead, usually when I have an idea, I flesh it out, I create a brand, I put together a business plan maybe, and I kind of like I do it that way. This time, I felt like I almost had to just do it, so I'll do it. So I'm just doing it. I'm in here doing it for the first time. I'm gonna try to make this a one take Jake type of thing, and go for it. So a little explanation, not to get too. I want to get right into it. A little explanation of what O tangents is going to be or could be is so after class, so most of my classes now are from 3 to 5:30. So after I either lecture or teach a subject or something like that, I well during the lecture I often go off on tangents, right? And I'll tell my students like I know I'm going off on one of my tangents, but I'm gonna bring it back, and I always bring it back to something relevant of what we were talking about in something having to do with creativity. But oftentimes, well, I don't say oftentimes, sometimes the tangent is more interesting than what I'm trying to cover. So I was like, what if I just kind of go straight from class and come right to the podcast and just continue to talk about my tangents? It's almost like therapeutic just to get that tangent, that idea out, you know? And also, if students, this is office hours, right? So if students want to come in and keep talking about the tangent, maybe in the future I'll have student guests, I have faculty guests, I'll have any guests from the community, from the world, whatever. I don't know what this may be or may not be, but I'm testing it out. So, tangents. The tangent that I went off on in class today. So right now I'm teaching a class called Interactive Design 1. It's the introductory class that's just covering interaction, covering design for screens. Really, it's designing for screens, designing interfaces for screens. So a lot of our students, of course, a lot of design students, they become design students, but they're usually begin their design journey as artists, right? So they're just used to drawing or painting on a canvas or on something, right? And then when they choose design, it's still you're designing on something. You're designing whether it's Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, whatever, After Effects. You're designing on a machine, on a screen of some sort, and it's going to be uploaded to some screen of some sort, right? I mean, I take that back. A lot of our design students design for print, so something to be printed out. Um, it's designed to go on the wall. It's designed to be in a magazine. It's designed to be on a billboard. It's even designed to be, a character in a game. It's going to be an environment in a game because in our department we also have game like environmental game design and character design, right? But in interactive design, a lot of times I find to take these students, because they don't get me until like sophomore, junior year, to get these students to kind of change their mind to think about interactivity and not just passive design, meaning it's going to be on a piece of paper and it's like just going to be hung somewhere and somebody can just look at it passively. And to go into the point where it's meant to be interacted with or interfaced with in any kind of way, it's kind of a challenge sometimes. So today, I like to when try to get across to them what a website is. And the reason why I cover websites first is because like websites is like I don't want to say the easiest, but it's like the largest canvas to deal with. So when you're starting something new, you kind of want to start with the largest canvas. And websites are still the largest canvas. They're a little more larger. You could be more creative with it than you can with, say, an app or something like that. So we start with this large canvas. So I talk about what websites are because I made a lot of assumptions the first couple times I taught this class. Then I realized that they use websites, but they never think about what websites are meant to do. Since I'm of a generation that I remember time before websites, so BW before websites, and I remember time after websites, AW. I know the strengths and what websites bring to a company. So the analogy I like to use is it's like a mall. It's like a shopping mall. Okay? So I use this analogy, and I'm gonna try this. I'm a messy screen. One take though. I'm not editing it out. Well, I might edit that out. It might have been some information I don't like. So I'm just gonna go to. Let me see. Just go to a website. Where do I go to? I go to CNET. That's something I visit every day. CNET.com. And I kind of let's go to. I'm gonna go to an e-commerce site because that's like a mall. Everything in the mall is trying to sell something. So let me go to an e-commerce site. Let me go to Banana Republic. I don't know what this page is about to bring up. The Banana Republic factory. You can tell I shop at the factory. If it has a factory, that's my preference. And if there's a deal to be had, I'm after it. Because clothes aren't that important to me. So you'll go to the Banana Republic factory, right? And I explained to my students, think of it like this, whatever you just designed is a store in the mall, right? In the mall, there might be 200 stores. And when you walk in the mall, you're immediately inundated with pressure from all the stores for you to come in. It's not necessarily somebody sitting in front of the store like come in, but you can think about the islands in the middle of the aisles. They're all like, hey man, you want some perfume? You want to fly this remote control helicopter? You want to try this boomerang? You want to try this gold infused lotion on your face? You know, the little inner parts, they're a little more aggressive. But think of the stores. Clearance, 1 day only sale, sign up for a credit card and get something free. You know, we got this new blah blah. All these stores are screaming at you with their signage, with their everything. That's what websites are. That's how I explain it to them. Like, your website is one of those stores yelling at the consumer, like, come into my store. But instead of 200 stores in the mall, you're dealing with like 2 billion websites and web resources and web applications, right? So if you're not providing what the user needs, they easily have another option. There was a time when there was only one option for everything. And I remember that time. And you can kind of do whatever the hell you wanted. It's like the Wild Wild West. It was like, there's nowhere else to go. So I just make, there's only one place to buy this certain kind of lotion you want. You don't really care what the store looks like because you got to go to that place. But if you know whatever you're trying to sell, whether it's a service, whether it's a product, whether it's just information, there's probably a lot of other resources people can go for that information. Why should they go to yours? So it's the stores yelling. You're walking through the mall, and all these stores are yelling, hey, come in, hey, come in, hey, come in, hey, come in. And this is like us just browsing the internet, right? Now, I don't think people browse the internet anymore. They used to. But I made the analogy for, the students of the day. These are like 20, 21-year-olds. TikTok, right? I'm like, this is how they keep you hooked. You're just scrolling. You're swiping. I don't want to say scrolling. You're swiping up. Swiping up, swiping up. That's like you're walking through the mall. You're looking in the stores, maybe. Some of the stores you're just walking past, you're not even noticing them. That's like those things on TikTok you just swipe past. That's not my interest. That's not interesting. That's not interesting. That's not interesting. What makes you stop and watch? It's something interesting that happened in the first 1 or 2 seconds. And I use that analogy like, hey, that's maybe how you should look at when you designing your web page, your home page, because we're talking about home pages, even though you can access websites from, any different page depending on what you Google. But that's what your home page is supposed to do. It's supposed to like grab attention. It's supposed to be interesting. So if you stop, so if you're on a web page and you're searching for earphones, and you go to this website, and you go to this website, what's interesting? Now, if you choose to go to the site or you choose to stop on the TikTok video, it's like you going into the store. That's all you're doing. You're going into it. You haven't bought anything yet. You haven't made any decisions, but now you're at least in the store. So now you're walking throughout the store. If you start walking throughout the store, that's the equivalent of me scrolling down this webpage. Like, I'm just perusing. Is it anything interesting to me? It's like you're going through the store, right? And then if something's interesting, if something's pops out, and then I might click on it. So actually, to be honest, nothing is popping out at all on this Banana Republic factory site. So I'm just gonna. It's like the Gap, the Gap stores. Everything looks the same. Like, I mean, what's the big deal? Like, what's the big difference between what he's wearing and what this dude's wearing? As I digress. So I'm just gonna click on here. So if I click, so I say to them, if there's nothing interesting, they just leave the store, and I'll just say, I'm just going to. You tell I don't clothes shop at all. I'm just gonna go to Lululemon. Right? I know I've seen some stuff that I like from them. So now they never go back to Banana Republic again, maybe. Right? I don't need to keep searching. I don't need to keep clicking through the site. I'm not going to keep walking through the store looking for stuff. I'm going to go to Lululemon. Is there anything that pops out? So I'm in the Lululemon store, walking through the store, seeing if there's anything that interests me in this store. Oh, nah. Yeah, I've been looking for some new workout shirts. Let me click on this one, right? Oh, they got color options. Now you're in the store. Now you're like feeling fabric differences. Now you're like taking the shirt off the shelf and you're looking at it. That's what the experience is right here, right? In the mall, in the Lululemon store. I'm like, okay, cool. Let me see what this black one's looking like. So now this is the equivalent of like, hey, excuse me, can I, you have these in a medium? Or can I try this on? Right? Same kind of analogy. You're doing your best as a web designer to keep the user on your page for as long as possible. And TikTok, their mandate is to keep the user in the TikTok app. It's like keep you in the mall for as long as possible. It's like the never-ending mall. Like TikTok is really like the never-ending mall. Like that could be a plot for a horror movie, to be honest. Or it could be a plot for a human study type of movie. But anyway, as I digress again, that's another thing I need to write down. That's another tangent. And as you'll see, I get these tangents in class. If I go over on a tangent, I try to make a quick note so I don't forget it. But I'm going to say never-ending mall analogy. I'll tack that maybe in a different OHTangents. But anyway, now I'm in there. Now I'm looking in the mirror in the dressing room, and I like what I look. And I'm like, the price is kind of high for a T-shirt, but, what's going to take me over the top? So this is the moment of truth. You're in the store. If you're in the Lululemon store, this is the moment of truth. This is when sales reps are trained to like, that looks good on you. We got a sale today. If you open up a credit card today, you'll get this thing for free. It's like, you might as well do it. You can cancel after 30 days. No harm, no foul. They're trying to close the deal, right? And as a website, you're trying to close the deal. If you have any missteps in this website, something doesn't work, something is not what is expected, they leave. Okay? So I just wanted to get in, and then once you make the sale, then it's effective, right? But nowadays with the internet, especially with social networks, and it's not necessarily about trying to get you to buy something or go somewhere. Is a lot of times just trying to keep you on the page for as long as possible because they have ads on these pages. And if you stay on the page long enough, it gets recorded as a visit or a view. And if you stay on the page for as long, I don't know how all that stuff works, to be honest. But the more time you stay on the page, the better. That was always my metric. It's like you get page visits, that's one thing. But it's like how long did somebody stay on the page? So I remember when I had this site, business called Athlete Shirts, and I found out a lot. So let me bring that up. There was this thing. Now I'm going on tangents, whatever. So let me go back to. So I had this. What is going on? Something got hung up in the metaverse with my connection. That's all right. But I had this business called Athlete Shirts, and I launched this when I graduated, when I got my MFA, and it was a resource. I can't show it now real because it has some flash elements that just don't work. So I remember I thought it was a great idea. The idea was you can go onto the site and you can get an athlete shirt if you want an athlete shirt. So I was trying to say, okay, this is interesting. I was successfully getting people to go from homepage to click on either what type of athlete are you. That's usually how you got to the next page. What type of athlete are you? It's like the call to action, like intriguing. Like I wasn't giving it all away because I know they were going to read this. Maybe they'll read it. But it's like, let me click on the blue link. Okay. And it's like, everybody, what kind of athlete? Okay, what? And a lot of people would do that because I could tell in the Google Analytics. And then this was the interface to like buy your athlete shirt. And at the time, I thought it was a good idea is customization. That was the whole sale. You get a customized shirt to say what kind of athlete you were. So you can add a tagline at the beginning or the end of the athlete logo. And you could change the logo. You could change the color of the shirt. I designed this interface. It was crazy. And you could choose the size. You could choose everything. It was just a lot going on. The color of the logo. It was a lot of customization. This was in 2012. And you enter your top tag, your bottom tag, and then you can add it to the cart. And that's ultimately what I needed to do. So I was running this business, and I was getting, sales here and there, but it never kind of picked up, like never. Over like a year, it just like never picked up. It was enough to be busy every day, but it just never picked up. And when I looked at the Google Analytics, what it showed me was that also I had this kind of widget at the bottom because I was trying to keep them on the page. But this is before keeping them on the page was like valuable because I didn't have any ads on the page. I didn't have any way to monetize the amount of time they were spending on the page. But what was happening, people were just on this page. I could tell people was on this page for like 2 minutes average, which is a lot of time. And I was like, why are they just spending 2 minutes? They're spending all this time on this one page. They're not going to any other about us. Had too much text, hindsight. And I'm like, what? I was like, what they're doing is they're just playing around. So I would always get these entries. I'd put this to keep them on the page. What's your tagline? So I was like, if they don't want to buy a shirt, at least they can just interact with the site and maybe that'll prompt them to maybe come back. So they would be coming up here and they just put in taglines for free and submit. Like, shut up and do it, athlete, model, or athlete. And they was just putting, this list was growing, but it wasn't sales. Like, none of them were sales, but people were interacting with the site. So I didn't know what was success. People are interacting with the site, but they're not buying anything. People were playing around in here. They were changing the color of the shirts. They were changing the tags. They were playing with the different logos. They were seeing what prices was different. They were just playing around in here. But they would never close the deal, right? So I was successful in that mall of getting people to come into my store and to even walk around that store and to even try out. They were having full fashion shows in my store. But nobody was buying anything. Not even my friends and family was buying stuff. But they were all telling me how dope it was. But they weren't purchasing anything. So I had to get a real job. Right? So that was a learning lesson when I would say in my infancy of like, this was my first thing I kind of like built from scratch. That was like an e-commerce business, right? It wasn't just like brochureware or something for somebody else. And I learned a lot. I got people to come in my store to sample the goods, but I didn't close the deal. Now, if I did this over, I would definitely, and this is definitely a tangent, right? I would definitely, I would give, a whole page of just pre-rendered shirts. Like, just give, I'm the dopest athlete alive, right? I'm the dopest athlete alive. And then I might get people to just buy that and just have like, I don't know how many, but enough just pre-done t-shirts. But the thing is, I didn't, and not even have so I have an inventory of them, but this is like, those are the ones, because what would happen is, people go play around, and if they did add the cart and buy it, I would take that design, and I would take it into Photoshop, and I would put it in the format that I needed and export it. Then I would send it to this print shop that did direct-to-garment printing, and they would print out the thing, and then I would go to it, get it, because I didn't want them sending it. Because I had special wrapping. I wanted the end process to be great, and I would wrap it. And I would, address it, and I had a little thing that kind of tied to the post office that I could do it from home, and I would ship it out. It was like you was getting a custom t-shirt, and I was only charging $27. And that was too cheap too, because people seeing $27 didn't see the value. So they didn't see it like, I'm gonna buy. Even my boys, even my friends, is like, I'll buy it one day, because it's not that important. It's $27 T-shirt. It's just a $27 T-shirt. It's a cheap item. My friend, my business partner, she actually told me, Dawn, she said, hey, you need to sell these shirts for like $200 or like $100 or something. I was like, my uneducated mind as to like wealth or people with money or people willing to spend money. I'm not a person willing to spend money, and I'm not at the time I wasn't a person with I'm not a person with money now. But I couldn't comprehend, like, nobody's gonna buy 100, and the only thing I could think was because I would never buy $100 T-shirt. But there's a huge market out there that I didn't know about of people that would buy. They would just buy quality. If they knew it was quality, if they knew it was one of a kind, they would purchase it. But, lessons learned. But that was my tangent going off. I kind of went off on that mall analogy. And I think that's a good analogy when trying to explain to students what websites are and how to design your websites and how to think of them. They're not something you're going to hang on the wall. It's something that's meant to be like a tool. Like, go in there, find what you need, and get out a lot of times. Some websites are exploratory. They want you to stay on there. I remember the old website, Requiem for a Dream, for the movie Requiem for the Dream, the website for that was the first website that made me see the movie. Like, I saw the website and interacted with the website, and it made me think I was going crazy. And I was like, I got to see this movie to see what the hell. And then I saw the movie, and the movie was dealing with addiction and people going crazy. And it was just like the site made me feel like a character in the movie. And it was like, I think there's some places where you can still see the experience. Like the Requiem for a Dream website is a classic website because it made me spend money to see the movie. Okay, that's the call to action. Even though it just wasn't just like, here's the trailer, here, buy tickets. Nah, it was a whole experience. Maybe I'll attack that the next. Let me write that as a note, because that's a whole. I could do a whole thing just on that website. That website was crazy. But anyway, that was my little tangent for that, and another. So I'm trying to stay on focus. I don't know how I'm gonna format this, but I'm gonna try to keep it, 30 to 45 minutes. We'll see how it goes. But we were also talking about. I'm looking at my notes just to make sure I'm not covering anything. VR in classrooms. We had a faculty meeting today, and so in our department, and I'm not mentioning the school name and everything because I'm not sure about the rules about that, and I don't know. But if you look at my LinkedIn, you can see what school I teach at. I'm at that school, right? And in this school, we have a communication and design department, and in the design side of that equation, we have a graphic design major, and we have another pseudo graphic design major, and we also have animation major, right? And the animation, they teach some of what they teach. They're getting into virtual reality and AR, right? And they got the rigs, they got the 3D printing, they got the VR thing you can actually walk in. It's like, and one of the guys had a Meta Quest, I think that's what it's called, 3. So the newest Meta, not the Meta Quest Pro, but the 3 that's like $500. And he was in there showing it to people, and we got into this VR talk. And since it's a faculty meeting, it's talking about VR as it pertains to education. So I had to interject because the talk immediately went to, that's going to be stupid, and I don't know about that, and that's going to be crazy. And it's just like, it was intrigue, but it's kind of like, because, we're faculty. We're not 18 to 25-year-olds for the most part. So I let it die down, but then I have felt the need to interject, and I had to tell them, like, yo, y'all have to understand this era that we're in. Y'all remember when the internet came out? Y'all remember when the internet, became popular? I don't want to say came out, because it came out, right? And y'all remember when the dot-com boom, I would say the dot-com boom around, I don't know the dot-com boom, we could look it up, but I experienced the dot-com boom around, I would say 98 99, 2000, right? It was still booming. I think there was a crash maybe like 2001 or 2002, I can't remember. But it was around that time when it was like .coms, everybody's buying up domain names. It was like, and it was changing the world. Like, I went to school and everything was handed in and I had to turn it in, and you had worksheets and everything was printed out. It was very print based, right? But soon as I got out of school, like, as I was getting out of school, we were starting to email more stuff. When I was at Pitt, I went to University of Pittsburgh. When I was at Pitt, it still wasn't like Canvas or Blackboard or anything, but that stuff was out. But as soon as I started working, we were emailing and everything was electronic. And then the internet was a source of information. It was like widely recognized. Like Google had just came out, like, and it was everywhere. And this is before Facebook, this is before smartphones and all that good stuff. But anyway, as I digress on a tangent, in this meeting, I felt the need to interject and tell them, like, yo, it's our job as faculty members to stay on top of the wave, right? Y'all remember the internet wave. That internet wave came, and it came a little slower because that's how innovation goes. It came, and then always, in the Super Bowl, I forgot what year that Super Bowl was, but it was a Super Bowl year when it was like the middle of the .com boom, and all the commercials were .coms. Like 90% of the commercials were .coms. People watching were like, hey, that was internet. Let me see if I can find that out real quick, because that's interesting. Like, what year was that? I don't know if this is going to be better. Just to look. Let me see. Super Bowl .com commercials. Uh-oh. Let's see if Google knows my heart. .com commercials during the Super Bowl. Okay, Wikipedia is always hit or miss. 2000. I'm not reading this more. Okay, January 2000, it featured 14 advertisements from 14 different .com companies, which paid an average of $2.2 million per commercial. That was in 2000. That wasn't that long ago, right? That was the .com boom. And what happened was everybody jumped on the bandwagon. So 2000, that's when I was January 2000. So I graduated December 99. I couldn't find a graphic design job because at the time, nobody was hiring for graphic design. Everybody was hiring web design. And I was like, I wasn't into web design. And I wasn't even didn't even know what that was, to be honest. Until I had a class, and I could digress into that. But, this professor kind of changed my life. And he was like, bro, you need to learn Dreamweaver because that's the wave. He saw the wave coming. He was like, if you want to succeed in graphic design, you have to learn at the time, Macromedia Dreamweaver. And that was a tool that was designed more for designers as a more comfortable software to build websites, right? So I got the Dreamweaver Bible, and I learned Dreamweaver at my temp job that I was working. And that's how I got my first job. Because when it came to opportunity, and it was like there was an internship at Nationwide Insurance back in my hometown, and I got an interview with them, and it was just like they wanted a graphic designer, but they wanted a graphic designer with web design experience. So I didn't have a lot of experience with it, but there was nobody that had experience with it at the time because I was on top of the wave. But I knew Dreamweaver, and that's what got me the job. Right? So I rode the wave, and I was like, in this faculty meeting, I was like, hey, y'all have to recognize that we're in another tech boom. The last one, and I would say we've had a couple, and it's like, I'm not a historian, I'm not that guy, but it's just, I remember the internet boom, I remember the .com boom, that was 2000. There was the crash, probably 2001, 2002, my years was pretty correct. And then we had another boom. So the people that didn't jump on the internet wave, they got left behind. A lot of them got left behind. Like, that's just, I'd rather y'all go to the library. It took a while for them people to get weeded out, but eventually they got weeded out, right? And then there was a little boom when the smartphone came out, 2009. So that just made the internet more accessible. That's how I look at that. Like, smartphones made the internet, it put the internet in your pocket. Before, if you wanted to get on the internet, you had to get somewhere where there was a computer, right? Or carry your laptop around with you. And at the time, there was no 4G and all that stuff. You had to find Wi-Fi. And it was all very new, right? And the first adapters was getting into it, and the people that was riding the wave was riding, and they was getting rich off the wave. Or they were succeeding off the wave. I came in at that time, I was working, so I was riding that wave. I was employed because of that wave. Like, I was valuable in my company because of the wave. Because I was, like, learning all the new tech. Flash. I was learning, JavaScript. I was doing a lot. And I was like, they called me Grandmaster Flash at my job because I was on top of the wave. And it was pretty much internet in your pocket and then apps, and it's pretty much still internet. I say up until now as a major sea change, is AI, crypto, and now, I was about to say the metaverse, but I'm not going to say that because that's like a brand name now. I'm going to say, I don't know, whatever's going to come of VR, AR, XR. Whatever's going to percolate, kind of like Betamax and VHS and VHS 1. Whatever's going to like VR, AR, XR, whatever that's going to be named in the near future. But Apple jumping in the game, and you see they've been patient about it. They didn't jump in and try to be the first. Apple really never does that, to be honest. They just kind of jump in and be the best. The iPhone just jumped in and just be the best. The iPod jumped in and it was just the best. So this Vision Pro, it looks like it is the best, clearly, but it's just $3,500 because they're not worried about a lot of people buying it now because there's going to be a regular Apple Vision, not with the Pro. There's going to be a version 2, version 3. There's going to be a, version 13, just like we're on the iPhone 16, right? So it's going to keep going. And I told the faculty, y'all better jump. I ain't say better, but I was like, it'll be in your best interest, if you're interested, to recognize this is a wave that's only going to go up, but I think it's going to go up faster than when the dot-com kind of wave happened, right? And it's up to us as faculty members to stay on top of this wave for as long as we can, because we're going to have students coming up under us that are going to be just using this stuff, but they're not going to know how to use it, why to use it. They're not going to know why it's important, right? It's up to us to teach them that. Not necessarily the skills, but definitely the skills. But it's just like, we know because we're on top of the wave. We went to this conference, we're using it, we're buying it, we're incorporating it into our classrooms. So I had to remind them, like, just to kind of like calm them down. Like, they was kind of like, I could definitely see a whole classroom of people with VR glasses on. Then it's like, as I say it, it's like, why would they even be in the same classroom? Like, I think this definitely could change online learning. Like, what if, you sign up for an online class, and then for that, it's mandatory that you have a Vision Pro or something like that. So you can, like, put it on, and then you're, like, in class with classmates, interacting, but you're still in your living room. That's way more viable to do with glasses than it is with a computer or a laptop or iPad. This is going to change the world. It really is. And it's like, if it's going to change the world, it's up to us as educators to kind of stay on top of that. Because I don't know what's going to happen in a month from now. Now, like, everything is so new. Every month there's something else popping. But it's up to me to know what's popping. That's why before any class, I ask the students, like, hey, what's new popping? What's new and popping? What's the new hotness? Some of my students, remember, I was like, what's the new hotness? And I'm like, the students should know the new hotness before I do. But usually I know the new hotness before the students, right? I'm 46 now, right? When I started teaching, I was probably like 29. So I was young when I started teaching. Now, in the whole scheme of things, as a professor, I'm still recognized as like a young professor. But, I'm not young anymore. I'm not part of that golden demographic of 18 to 25 or even close to that. But I'm trying my best to stay so I just don't get drowned, because it's going to be, I can get left behind quick. I've seen it happen with the internet. I've seen it happen. People just like, and then they just got left behind. And they just, UPS is hiring. Don't be mad. All right. So I did talk about that. That was a tangent that we went on, but in a faculty meeting talking about VR. But then we also talk about VR in education. I'll probably save that for another time. But I would love to have some kind of brainstorming session of like, what can we do with this new VR, AR, XR tech that we're starting to see. Because I was talking to my students, and it was like one of the first times I was like, what if? And usually after what if, I can come out with just like a lot of just different ideas, blue sky ideas. But this time I was like, because basically, the Apple Vision Pro, if you look at it, it's just like an iPad on your face. It's like basically what it is. It's the same MO as when they had an iPhone, and then they came out with the iPad, and it was like a lot of people, including me, like, why would I just want a bigger iPhone? Like, it's the same thing. It's literally, the iPad is literally, to this day, it's starting to get more like a computer, but it's really still just a big iPhone. But everybody gets it because it just makes it more convenient to do some things, right? That's what the Vision Pro is. It's just not a bigger iPad. It's just an iPad on your face. So all the apps you're bringing up, it's like iPad apps and iPhone apps, and everything's flat. So you could put, the cool thing is just you could put an app here, your weather app. You could put your chat app. You could put, your pet app. You could put whatever. You could put your computer screen. I mean, you could put your Safari right here, and you could browse stuff. But it's all like stuff you could normally do on your iPad. It's just a cooler way to do it. You can put it on walls. You can put it in place. You can walk around. But it's like, I haven't seen anything that's just like, other than being able to work on your computer in the virtual office type of thing. But that's not new because the Quest could do that. I haven't seen anything actually new and dope and groundbreaking. Like, I've never seen it before. It's like everything put together in the package I haven't seen before. But that's what Apple does. It just takes other people's ideas, not other people's ideas, but other products that are out. And it just comes up with a product that's just like, feels better. There's higher quality, right? It's like the old product was the beta. There was an old smartphone. There was smartphones that were screens, but the iPhone came out and it was just like felt better. There was MP3 players before the iPod. Everybody thinks the first MP3 player of its kind that was like the iPod was the iPod 9. It was just like the third or fourth or fifth or sixth, I don't know, but it was just better than all of them, subjectively speaking. And that's what they're doing with this. They let the Vive come out. They've let generations. Vive maybe had 3, 4, 5 generations of its headset. They let Microsoft do the HoloLens thing, and it's like they're taking notes. That didn't work. That worked. That didn't work. People don't want this. So the Apple coming out with the Vision Pro shows me that they have been plotting and scheming. And it's kind of like, boom, we're not going to focus on gaming. We see that's a dead-end road. Every VR product that's came out so far, except the HoloLens, maybe, it's kind of like, this is a great gaming device. Even the Magic Leap, in my opinion, did itself a disservice by interjecting gaming into its tech demos. It's like you could do all this cool stuff that's good for productivity and kind of like this. And these glasses, the Magic Leap glasses, you can actually really wear those in the mall. Like, they look more like glasses. But then in part of the tech demo was like, aliens crashing through the walls, and you're shooting aliens in your office, and then there's a dinosaur running. We used to have them in this office, and I remember doing it like, it was like, ooh, this is sweet. And then it was like, I don't want to do that again. Like, I did it. It's like riding a ride at the music park. Like, I already rode it. I don't really need to ride it ever again. That's how Magic Leap felt. And I think that messed them up by then, because as soon as somebody sees games, it's like, that's a gaming device. The Vision Pro came out, and they're just leaning into, this is not a gaming device. Like, you never see any gaming demos that comes out of Apple or anything like that. It's like, no, do the same thing you've been doing in your life with your watch, AirPods, your phone, your iPad, your computer. But now you can do a lot of that stuff on your face. And it's like the same people, like, why would I just need an iPad on my face? But it seems more intriguing, like, it would kind of be cool to maybe have an iPad on my face. And they came out with it for $3,500, which makes it a luxury item. And you know how luxury items go. The people that want to look like they're luxury people buy luxury items. Like, because they know that broke people can't buy luxury items. Broke people can't. I'm not in Miami. I'm in South Florida. I'm in Boca Raton. I'm just waiting at the light on Tuesday at, 1:30 in the afternoon, and a Bugatti can pull up right beside me. Like, Come on now. Ferraris are like commonplace. Corvettes are almost like starter cars here. So, and you go to Miami and stuff, you see, people are wearing $3,000 shoes. So I'm like, I don't think it's a far leap for people to be walking around with this $3,500 headset just to kind of show people that I have a $3,500 headset on. It's like a status symbol, right? It's always going to be a conversation starter. It's always going to be intriguing. I remember the first time I saw iPad in the wild, like after the big announcement and all the tech demos like we seen with the Vision Pro, and they like dropped it. And I remember like a week later, first place I started seeing them a lot was just airports. Just people kind of in the airport using it. And I'm like, that's why you need a bigger iPhone. Because it's more like a book, or it's more like a thing to use instead of a phone. It's kind of corny to you always on your phone. But if you're on an iPad, it's less stigmatizing. It looks like maybe you might be working. You might be reading a book or something, not just like TikToking it. Right? So anyway, when it comes to education, I'm kind of interested in how it's going to affect education going forward. The idea is like, remote learning. I can see that popping for real. But they were talking about some of our animation professors. They were all into like, what if you could put the glasses on and then you can like create a model, in 3D space, in your office. But instead of just creating a 2D Spider-Man model, for instance, you're creating a 3D Spider-Man model that's like sitting in the chair that's in front of you, right? Then you can like click on something, then you can 3D print it. It could be sent to the 3D printer, or it could be uploaded into Unreal Engine or whatever. But it's like you're dealing with a 3D object that you can rotate, you can walk around it, you can scale it. They're seeing that kind of, and I think that's going to happen soon because that kind of technology is already here. I remember seeing that kind of technology 20 years ago when I was working with Flash and 3D objects in Flash. So, but I'm like, y'all need to think further. Like that stuff already exists. Like you have to start thinking about stuff that doesn't even exist. You got to start thinking about Star Trek land, Star Wars land, Minority Report land. You got to start thinking beyond what you've seen before. And I think that's a cap on a lot of us. It's like we can't think about things that we haven't thought about before. That's another tangent I can do in another show. To think about things that you haven't thought about before. That's design thinking. I'm also a big design thinking guy. I just had my first major like design thinking exercise I did with a local school. I call it Skyfer. But it was dope. But that's how design thinking is kind of like trying to open up your mind to think differently. And usually that involves thinking about something you've never thought about before. Thinking outside of the box. Thinking about the possibilities. And don't just stop at it's impossible. Like, nah, let's start at impossible and let's trickle down. And then if we start at impossible and we trickle down, and then we'll maybe end at dope. But if we start at, let's stay safe and let's just do what everybody else does just to get it up. Gravity. Just think gravity. Gravity's not taking it. But, how human beings, in my opinion, how human beings kind of go through life is kind of like on this gravity metric. What goes up must come down. We say that about superstars. What comes up must come down. We say that about music. What's hot? It's not going to be hot that long. We said it about everything. It's like how we view the world. Because gravity exists, so it must exist in everything, right? So if you start from the bottom, it's going to be hard to get better and dope. It's going to be hard to start at regular and get to dope. It's easier to start from impossible and fall to dope. And that's what design thinking a lot of times does. We go through our design thinking exercises. The Skyfer, I try to interject more, I don't want to say the hip-hop culture into it, but more of I would say hip-hop culture. We might try some rhymes. We might try to rhyme things together to just try to open up your mind a little bit. We might start with a Shibuya roll call to introduce everybody, just to get everybody kind of outside of their comfort zone, right? Everybody kind of comes in like, and try to get that out. And let's start up here. It's like, I just got this new VR. What can we do? What can we interject and, change education with this. What if we could, and I got to that, and then I was just like, and I couldn't think of it, because it's like, that world is so new to me. It's hard for me. It's like I feel like I got to sit down and really, really think about it, right? But I feel like if I really, really think about it, I'm going to come up with, like, corny stuff instead of, like, what if? Like, what if we could? And you know what I need to ask? My 8-year-old son, Breaker. I need to ask him. Because he has an 8-year-old mind. He has a beginner's mind. And that's what you try to do in design thinking. Start from a beginner's mind, a baby's mind. He has a baby's mind still. He's 8. He's on that lower level of, like, types of learners, right? So like the Perry levels. So anyway, I'm at the 45-minute mark. This is our first one. I'm just talking, right? So this is therapeutic for me, because a lot of times when I get out of class, I want to keep talking. Even though I was talking, I might be talking for 2 hours in class. It's kind of like, now I'm talking. So let's keep it going. And a lot of times I go home and, the people at the crib, they don't want to talk. They might have been talking all day and they don't want to talk. And what I would do sometimes, I would film myself talking. I would just pull out my phone and just get my thoughts out. And it felt good to get my thoughts out. So at least it's on something. And I would never show it to anybody, but at least it's out, right? And I can kind of hear it back if I, like, played it back. And it sounds different, like, the next day or a week later or a month later, right? So I'm like, why not just put this out? Because I think these thoughts are interesting, I guess. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to take it. So I'm going to try to do these 2 days a week. I'm going to try my best, but the timing, I'm trying to work that out. But I'm going to go straight from class, and I'm going to come straight in here. And I'm just going to, like, whatever tangent or whatever the big topic was in class, I'm going to try to rock it here. I'm going to tell my students, like, hey, I'm going to continue this thought if you want to, see the podcast later on. Eventually, I want to get to the point where I can shoot these live, right? I can go live. Like, I can go live right now. And, I can see comments and stuff. And I don't know about comments, because comments gets racist and crazy, right? But it'll be live, so if I do maybe have students from that class, they can go straight and go and log in and see my office hours. And I'll be talking a lot of times about the subject we just went over. And it might clarify, or it might help them better understand the topic at hand. I can see in the future having guests. I can see a lot down the line, right? But I think it's going to be interesting. OHTangent. Like here go Professor Craft going on another tangent. My students were fan. Y'all remember, the best times are sometimes with my tangents. How to be dope. What's the new hotness? Flyers for your boys. How about going to tangent? Like, a lot of people's introduction to design is flyers for your boys. And, I'll run into students now, and they be like, flyers for your boys. So, I'm just trying to keep learning interesting, and me being a professor keeps me on my toes. That's the main reason I do it, and I love to do it. So, yeah. I don't know the best way to sign off on this stuff, but, let me see. I can do that. I got all the tools, right? What's some other things? I could do. Maybe I'll start doing that when I make a good point. Like, oh, good point. Nah, that'd be corny, right? But I'm going to figure it out. So I got one in the pipe, so I can go edit it, put it up, and it's going to give me better ideas for the next one, and the next one, and the next one. If anybody knows me, that's what I do. I create things, and I build on it, and see how it goes. All right? Peace out.